Hey guys, it's Elizabeth McCravey, and you're listening to the Breakthrough Brand Podcast. Each week, I'll bring you workshop-style trainings that teach you how to stand out online, design success from the inside out, and create a breakthrough business. It's time to turn viewers into raving fans and design the business and life of your dreams. I'm so excited you're here. Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Breakthrough Brand Podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth McCravey, and today we are talking about hiring your first team member, which is a really exciting conversation for me to bring you guys because I know many of you are in this boat right now of being at the point where you're thinking about hiring some help, or maybe you just hired your first team member and you're wanting some strategy around that. Or maybe you're like thinking, I think I kind of need help, but I'm not sure. I don't know where to start, all of those kinds of things. Or maybe you're even very far off from hiring. We touch on that too in this interview, and that's totally okay. This episode has stuff for you to help you prepare for hiring early on when it's still not quite time, but you know you're eventually going to want to go there. So there's stuff for everyone in this episode with Kaylan. And before I roll this interview, I want to share a little bit of a life update. So at the time of this episode airing, I'll be on my way this week to Cabo, Mexico with a very special group of people. So guess who the group is? Go ahead and think, who's the group? So the answer is I'm going with Show It. So you guys know Show It is the platform I use to design websites. It's what my website templates work with, and I've loved using Show It for years now. You can actually scroll back a couple of episodes. I believe they're in like the 40s or 30s on this podcast where I'm comparing Show It to other platforms. And, I talk about my website templates on here a lot, and those are all built using Show It. So anyway, I'm insanely honored to be on this trip. Basically, Show It invited their top 15 designers using their platform to attend this trip. They're calling it the Designer Summit, and they had a criteria for picking who to invite based on like sales volume, template imports, and things like that. And Todd, the CEO, told us like all those details when he invited us. And I'm just really excited. It's an amazing group going. I've known about this trip since November of 2019, when Todd, the CEO of Show It, told me about it when we were at United. And I was like, what? This is so amazing. I'm so excited. So I've been like anticipating this trip for a while now. And I don't think I've mentioned it on this podcast yet. So there you go. That's what's going on this week. And in the meantime, be sure to follow along on Instagram with me. I'm at Elizabeth McCravey, and with Show It too, this week and this weekend, where I'll be sharing updates of the trip and what we're doing. We're doing like whale watching, all kinds of random stuff like that. And obviously meeting to talk about design stuff too. And we're staying at a really beautiful resort in Cabo. So follow along. I'll share on Instagram stories. And then if you're listening to this episode in the future and you're like, oh, I want to see that, just look at my Instagram story highlights. I'll probably save it and call it something like Cabo, something simple like that. So you can still find it that way. So that's what's going on with me. And now on to the episode. So today I'm chatting with Kaylan Thompson, and Kaylan is a team building consultant and strategist, and she helps women, literally like you listening, step into a leadership role in their business and build a team. And like I already mentioned, today we're focusing on getting started with a team and with your first team member specifically. We talk about things like interview questions to ask, questions that you need on your application for hiring, how to know when it's time to hire, how to prepare for hiring even when you're not ready yet, all kinds of cool stuff like that. And I'm also sharing a lot of my experience throughout with hiring and the process of what it's been like building a team. So you'll hear me talk about that as well. And Kaylan, actually, her website, joytolead.com, that's the name of her company, it was built with a template from my website template shop, MShop. And so when you go to her site, joytolead.com, you'll see that it was built with one of my templates, and she did a really great job customizing it. And we actually have an episode coming, I'm not sure when we're going to air it, but in the future, about her experience with the website template shop and like using Show It and all of that. So I'm really excited for you guys to hear that episode with her about that. But yeah, if you go look at her website and like it, it's beautiful. She did such a great job with it, but it's built using the Nicole template from my shop. And I'll link to the website templates in the show notes if you want to check those out as well. So that is all I have for this update. I'm so excited for you guys to hear this interview with Kaylan. So let's play that now. Okay, Kaylan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for having me on. It's an honor to be here.
I'm so excited. And I want to share the fun fact that we just talked about, but Kaylan just moved to Nashville. How long ago was it that you moved?
Oh my gosh, less than a month ago. I think it was like 3 weeks or something. It's felt like a long time, but it has not been that long. So I'm a Nashville newbie.
Yes. And she's living in the same apartment complex that I lived in for, I guess, about 4.5 years before we bought our house. And you're one building over from where I was living. That would have been so crazy if it was the same. I was seriously like, are you going to say the
same exact apartment?
Yes, because we actually had friends who lived in the same literal apartment as us like years before. So that would have been crazy. But yes, I'm so excited about this. I'm excited to dive into hiring. And I know you have so much like good stuff to offer here. I've loved listening to what you've said on this topic on your podcast. So to start us out though, tell me a little bit about your background and like what you do in your business and all of that good stuff.
So Joy to Lead, I run a hiring and leadership consultancy, and it really began when I stepped into my first leadership role back in mid-2018. So I like to say, and if you've been following me for any time at all, you've heard me talk about this story, but I actually accidentally stepped into that role. I was working as a content strategist with this online marketing agency, and they asked me to step into the role of marketing director. And of course I said heck yes, because that's exciting and it's a promotion and it's my dream job. And I was actually ushered into the executive leadership team where I was helping determine the trajectory of the company, and my voice mattered in these big decisions and big discussions. And so when I sat in on my first meeting, I felt so out of place. And for the next year, I was trying to calibrate, and I was just trying to find my footing and discover my own strengths, because I was trying to lead by being perfect. And every single team meeting I held, every single leadership team meeting I attended, I constantly thought, everyone can tell I'm not supposed to be here. Everyone can tell that it was a mistake putting Kaylan in this role. I was so focused on myself and trying to be perfect. And newsflash, nobody is perfect.
Yes.
Nobody can be a perfect leader. And so I struggled with this heavy anxiety for so long until I realized I can't carry this weight anymore. If this is what working is, if this is what it means to be a leader, I don't think I'm emotionally cut out for it. I just thought, when was the last time I remember not feeling this way? And so I looked back and I looked at all the ways that I played as a kid and all the things that brought me joy through my life. And I found these common denominators, and I labeled them as my strengths. And I realized that I'm so good at vision casting a vision, but also communicating that vision, rallying a team around that vision. And once I started taking my strengths into my job and leading from those strengths, and wherever I had weaknesses, I pulled on the support of my team members, everything changed. And so I was able to help support the team, coach the team, restructure the team, lead several hiring processes, and help the CEO herself regain the vision for her company and lead from that vision. It was a beautiful transformation, and that's where Joy to Lead was born out of, that transformation in my leadership and the way I was able to help other people. And then I thought, I just want to keep doing this. I want to do this for so many CEOs and business owners. I want to help them grow sustainably, hire wisely, and scale with wisdom.
Oh, I love all that. And I knew a lot of your story, but I definitely did not know the full story there. And I love what you're saying about how you realized that you did have that like interest and drive towards being like having a vision towards things, and actually did have the capacity to lead. So I love that.
Mm-hmm.
And pulling out support from team members. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and tell a little bit. I want everyone to know like exactly what you do now too.
Yeah, so right now I help people strategize for their first hires, and a lot of my clients are in their first few years of leadership. So they're either entering a season of hiring for the first time, or maybe hiring for the second time because the first one didn't turn out so well, or they're hiring for a very hefty role, a role that's going to have a lot of impact in their business too. So I help people strategize for their first hires and also plan their own promotion too, because as you are bringing in help and support, you need to be moving closer to the true role of CEO. And so I help strategize your own promotion and craft a job description, job posting, and I help you through the hiring process as well. So I'm always there for support. I also just launched a group coaching program, and the doors are closed right now, but they will open back up in July. And this is a leadership group coaching program. I've crafted curriculum as well as curated a book list too. So every month I teach a workshop on leadership and hiring, and we have a book discussion as well. And it's a year-long program, and it will open again in July.
Interrupting this episode with a suggestion for the small business owners listening. Ever wonder what you should do for healthcare when you and your spouse are both self-employed, so there's no work-provided health insurance to participate in? Well, when my husband Adam joined me in the entrepreneurial job space over 4 years ago, we joined Christian Healthcare Ministries instead of getting traditional health insurance. And it was the best decision for us, especially in these years of growing and raising a family while also running multiple businesses. CHM is a health cost-sharing ministry and is a faith-based alternative to health insurance. We did tons of research before choosing CHM, and if you know me and Adam, you know we are all about doing the math when making big or small financial decisions. And even though it's not insurance, CHM shares 100% of eligible medical bills, which is more than the typical 70 or 80% of medical bills paid for by insurance companies. All sharing is determined by the CHM guidelines, which you can check out before and after joining. And for the mamas and mamas to be listening, you truly cannot find a better healthcare option for maternity care. I had a vaginal delivery and a C-section and birth center care and hospital care between my 2 pregnancies and births, and it was all 100% shared for. And outside of birth, we've had our share of emergency room visits and procedures as a family, and those costs were all shared by members at Christian Healthcare Ministries, leaving us only paying our monthly contribution. CHM is less expensive month to month than insurance, and because there's no network, you can choose your care with whichever providers best fit your family. I seriously just cannot recommend Christian Healthcare Ministries enough. You've got to check them out. Go to elizabethmccravey.com/CHM for more information. Also putting that link in the show notes, elizabethmccravey.com/CHM. Now back to the episode. Yes, and you guys, I'm going to link to Kaylan's website in the show notes. I actually have your sales page pulled up right now for the group coaching program. Yeah, and you guys, Kaylan used, which we're going to talk about in another episode, but she used one of my website templates to build her website, and it fits her brand so well. Like, I seriously feel like the website looks like it was just made for your images and colors and like everything. But I love this page and everything you're doing in this program. It sounds amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get into the hiring stuff. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about, you already know this about me, but I just hired again in my business. I have 2 people right now working as kind of contractor part-time basis, and I've tried hiring multiple times before then and ending up like it not working out for various reasons. But I actually waited a while to start hiring in my business, and I personally think within my business, I waited to the right timing to when I was ready. But I know, thinking about like why people listening right now might be delaying hiring, common reasons, the finances for it, literally not having the money or feeling like they like won't ever have the money or just aren't ready financially yet. And then another reason I see, and that was true of me, is the time it takes to train someone. Of like, that feels like more work when you're already so overwhelmed and you're like, if I can do it myself, why should I pay someone to do it? So I'm wondering, from your perspective, what advice would you give to people in either of those camps about hiring and preparing for hiring and all of that stuff?
Ooh, this is such a good question. So, finances is definitely one of the number one reasons people are putting off hiring or can't hire. And I want to say right now that it is always it's always the time to get ready to hire. So a lot of us put off getting ready, preparing our finances, preparing our internal systems and structures for hiring because we can't do it right now. And when you do that, you're casting vision based on your current reality. You're saying, I'm not going to look toward hiring and I'm not going to get ready to hire because I currently can't afford to, or I currently can't sustain that right now. But once you keep growing, because you are growing, you're a wise business person, you're growing a business that is going to grow. Once you get to that place where you need to hire and you're scrambling to get ready because you've waited for so long to get ready, you're putting yourself in a place of hiring out of desperation. That clouds your vision, it clouds your judgment, and the need to hire now outweighs the need to get ready and prepare and step into it with wisdom. So I encourage everybody, no matter if you are planning on on hiring in the next year, 2 years, in the next few months, start now to get ready. And financially, what that looks like is go open a savings account. Every time you receive money, take a set percentage and just put that away. Put it in a separate account so you aren't tempted to touch it. And I would suggest waiting to hire until you have at least 3 to 6 months worth of their monthly pay saved up in that account.
That's
because
helpful to
that
have that
gives you a
number.
cushion. Yeah. It gives you a cushion. So let's say that you have enough income coming in on a monthly basis. You never even have to touch it, but that is great to have for a rainy day. And that cushion can also help you afford your first hire too. So get ready now, start now, put some finances aside now, even if it's like 1%. 1% over, I don't know, 100 days is 100%.
Yeah.
And then just like you said, the time it takes to onboard someone, first of all, onboarding is an investment in your business. Yes, it takes a while, but you are creating an asset for your business, somebody who functions the way that they're functioning as you in your business. And so taking the time to do onboarding right is a profitable investment in your business. And so I never encourage anybody to rush onboarding, and it may feel like it's taking a lot of time and taking a lot of money, but when you shift your mindset and see it as an investment, it's so freeing too. I always encourage people to take 90 days to onboard a team member. And focus on the first 30 days on learning, helping them learn the role, learn the relationships with clients, learn their relationships with their other team members, learn everything that they need to know to do the job well. In the second 30 days, they can start applying what they know and their perspective to what they have learned. So this is a great time for them to take on a solo project. It's a great time for them to run an audit and craft a strategy. And then in the last 30 days, you want to give them space to execute this solo project while you sit back and monitor and track data and metrics and see how they're performing. And you also mentioned that hesitancy of, if I can do it myself, should I really pay someone to do it? Yes, you aren't omnipotent, you aren't omnipresent. We are only one person with one set of strengths. And at the end of the day, it comes down to what you want for your business. If you want to be a solo show and you want to have a small business that you have some automations and you are carrying the weight of the machine. So if you are a solo show right now, you are the thing that keeps your business alive. Without you, there is no business. And if you are wanting to grow to the point of CEO, what you are trying to do is make a machine that exists and can run and live without you. Because the role of a CEO is somebody who steps all the way out of the business and it can still function without them, but their job is to look down from a bird's eye view and look at every moving piece and say, what isn't running as efficiently as it can? And also, you are the one that is looking toward the vision. Where are we going? And if you are wanting to grow yourself to the point of CEO, you're going to have to make some hires. Yes, you can do everything yourself if you had a 100-hour day, but you don't. You have 24 hours and you have a family that loves you. You have friends and you have your own self that you need to have space and time to care for yourself. So yeah, you could do everything, but how long will that be sustainable? I had a client who put this in the most beautiful way. She said when she first started her business, she was driving the train while having to lay down the tracks at the same time.
Yeah.
And you can only go so far and so fast and so long doing that. And she said it was in one of our first sessions where we were mapping out how she was going to advance her own role when she brought on support. And she had this light bulb moment and she said, oh my gosh, it's felt like this for so long. I've been going so slow, having to do double time. But when I bring on support, I can have them drive the train while I get to lay down the tracks. And I said, yes. And then in the future, you can hire somebody to lay down the tracks while you just tell them where to go. And you can always look at the vision, and your job could be that visionary.
I want to reiterate some of the stuff you just said, because you just dropped a lot of great stuff throughout all of that. So one thing you said was 3 to 6 months of monthly pay for the hire into a savings account to help you prepare for it. And then 90 days to onboard. I love that because that's actually the model I'm following right now with my new hire, is training and then giving her some stuff that I'm like overseeing and helping her with a lot. And then kind of moving on to her doing more stuff solo. I want to add something else here too, Kaylan. I'm curious what you think about this. So for me, with hiring specifically for a project manager in my business, while I was like in the process literally of like, I have put the job application out, I'm waiting for candidates to come in or slowly interviewing people, I was preparing the literal trainings that whoever I was going to hire was going to go through. So it felt so amazing because then whenever I did ultimately hire someone after what felt like a million interviews, it was amazing because I had an entire training system for a specific thing in the business, specifically what I do with this podcast from the point of the episode's recorded to like everything is published and promoted. I made a whole process for that and was able to hand that over to her as part of her training for the first week, where then she can just watch everything, read all the notes on her own time, and then talk to me about it after.
Oh yeah, that's a great way because you've put in the work up front. And it's kind of automated too. What I would suggest people do, no matter if you're planning on hiring a year from now, that it's actually great to give yourself time and space to start now to prepare for onboarding. Every time you sit down for a big project, start taking notes on what tasks you have to take care of that project and how long it takes you. So for example, a standing operating procedure for an Instagram post would be open phone, open Instagram, upload photo, use filter. Like, it sounds so mundane. And for those of us who are visionaries and creatives, those details may feel like we're pulling our hair out, but taking the time now to start tracking those will make preparing for onboarding so much easier, because then we can just either take that bullet point list, hand it to our team member, or film a video around it and instruct them through that video too. So yeah, a lot of upfront work now will pay off later.
Yeah, and that's something to go ahead and start thinking about is even if right now you're like, I'm not earning enough to hire, or I don't even need someone yet, because a lot of times when you're not earning enough to feel like you can hire, it's because you don't really have enough work yet necessarily for multiple people to need to handle it. But even if you're not there yet, like looking at what are, like how you phrase it, standard operating procedures in your business that you could go ahead and start recording the process for, so that whenever you do hand it over to someone, you have it all there and ready to go. And I want to throw in here too, the thing I used to record the process of stuff was Process Street, which is like a literal like process recording website. So I made, it actually kind of feels like an online course when you look at it, but it's like podcast management, and there's modules, and some have videos, some have text, some have screenshots. And then you can, give that to someone, hand it over to them, and they like go through it and kind of like, I don't know how they call it, but I guess run through it as a checklist, I think is what they call it. Have you used Process Street before?
No, I've never heard of it, but it sounds awesome.
Yeah, I love it. And I did like, a lot of the videos I did on Loom, which is like where you are recording your screen and have like your face typically in the corner, but then put them all into Process Street. So that's there. And then another thing to think about with that, like my new hire, Abby, so she's the one who's running that process and doing everything there now. But ultimately, I would like for her to hand over pieces of the process to someone else. So now that's still there for that person in the future and so on. So that's a great thing to do, is think about like what things can you kind of record now to hand over later. So I want to ask you another question about this. So let's talk about micromanaging. So oftentimes, like for solopreneurs, people, like many people listening to this podcast, we get used to doing everything ourselves for so long, and we really are like truly wearing all the hats in our business. And so then our big fear is either like someone can't do it as well as us, which I know now that that's literally like the most untrue thing ever, but not everyone realizes that. So we can kind of want to micromanage them, or even like, if we think they can do it as well as we can still feel like, oh no, but like it's my thing, I can't let go of it. So then we are stuck like micromanaging someone. So what advice can you give to someone about building a team that they don't feel like they need to micromanage?
Ooh, hire people that you are intimidated by. You want somebody who is so high level in their zone of genius that you won't have to micromanage them, because they're going to be bringing leadership and expertise that you know you don't have. But when you're hiring somebody who can do something at your level or below, you're putting yourself in a position of having to micromanage because your standard has already been set and you're hiring below that. So in order to attract those people who are truly high level, you want to make sure that your job posting is acting as a sales page. What I see a lot of people do is taking the job description and just throwing it on Indeed, or just putting on Indeed like a bullet point list. And when you do that, people are going to come to that posting and they're going to look at it and say, yeah, I can do that. Oh, you need someone to manage email campaigns? I've sent an email in Gmail before. Like I'm qualified for that. You don't want to get people who are just there to see if they can do a job. It's really a sales page. If you think about your sales page on your website for one of your offerings, you're offering a transformation. Your product, your package or service will change their life in a better way in some form or fashion, and your sales page is structured to attract them. It does a few different things. It tells people if they are in the right spot, hey, this is for you or it's not for you. It talks about the inclusions, what's included in the service and offering to create the desired result. And then it talks about the problem that they have and it shares the solution. Your job posting needs to do that same thing. What's included in this job? Where are they right now? And why do they want to take this opportunity? And how will it get them to where they want to go? And where are you going as a company too? Why do they want to spend their time and energy and part of their life dedicated to serving this position? And if you're not selling to that high caliber applicant, you're going to risk getting people that you are going to have to micromanage.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that about the sales page specifically of like thinking about your job posting in that way. And I definitely feel like with my recent hiring, I did think about that way. And I had a lot of people comment that it really like stood out to them what I had written on that page on the job application. Yeah, among others, because there were, I was competing with a lot of not similar, but a lot of other people for like a local Nashville job. Another thing I want to add though to what you said about thinking about hiring someone you don't have to micromanage would be don't hire someone to do the thing that is your zone of genius. I think that's a common mistake because at least that was literally one of the mistakes I made. So with that though, like I know for me early on when I first started hiring, I was like, I need help with graphic design because I'm so overbooked and like I need obviously to hire other graphic designers. Like that was where my mind went. But then I quickly realized I was trying to hire for the thing that literally people were trying to pay me thousands of dollars for. But at the same time, I was holding on to like, I have to respond to every email. I have to like upload every blog post myself and like all of those kinds of things. So I was hiring for the wrong thing. So I think that can be a mistake sometimes as we end up hiring for zone of genius stuff first, but really you should start with some of the other kinds of tasks first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
So you were just talking about the job application. What are some questions that you think are important to ask on a job application, like regardless even of what we're hiring for?
Oh, yeah. Asking situational questions is number one, especially on the application too, because it has them think they can't prepare for those specific questions. You know, you can always prepare for the questions like, tell us about yourself. We already know, we're kind of regurgitating. But when we are faced with a situational question that is unique to your business, it's having us think in a different way, and we're having to apply our perspective to what we know about the business that we're applying for. And then another one that I love to ask in the interview too. So if you've followed me for any time, or if you start following me now, you will know and you will hear me talk about core values. Core values, and these aren't just the cliche core values where it's like, we value honesty and authenticity and integrity. Like, those are just the components of being a good human being. You want to make sure that you're hiring good human beings and your business is upholding the values of good human beings. What core values are is they're taking it a step further in 3 core areas. What are 3 things that you want your business to be known for? And I love having my clients ask about core values in the job interview.
I like that.
I would even ask what are their core values in their own life, and then share your own core values for your company and ask them, when is the time recently that you have seen yourself upholding one of these core values in your own life? Because it makes them reflect on your business's core values and highlight how that is shining through in them too.
I like it. Yeah, so are you saying that should be more for the application before they speak to you, or on like a phone call or like in-person interview?
Ooh, I would definitely ask. So in the application, I would ask, what are your personal core values?
Okay.
And they're just going to need to reflect. But in the job interview, definitely ask those situational questions too. When is the time that you have seen this particular core value come through in a time in your life? And so this is a great place too to share about your business core values. So you get to share a little bit from your heart too. And it helps create that connection between you and this hire too. And it helps you evaluate them on a deeper level as well.
Yeah, I love it. And I know you're a fan of the book Traction too, right?
Yeah, I just read it for the first time about a month ago.
Yes, same. So like, there's the whole, I guess it's like a whole section on core values. So I worked through it the way he tells you to in the book and ended up coming up with, let me see, I actually have mine pulled up. I have 6 core values, and I did with the person I ended up hiring. We like talked through them, and then we have like a document within the company that I keep in Basecamp that like everyone can see of like, these are the core values and these are the explanations for them. But I'm with you on like, there are some way, sometimes people can think of a core value as like what you're saying of being like a basic human being, but we want it to be something that's more unique to like your business specifically. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's also like, what do you want to be known for? So, you're an expert in branding. You know that your brand can't be known for everything.
Mhm.
You do want to be known as being a good human being, but what are some things about yourself and your business that you want people to know you for? Do you want them to describe you as? For example, my core values are be the optimist, be the friend, and be the catalyst. I want to be known for challenging people to achieve their highest potential. I want to be known for believing in people's highest potential and helping them see that. And then I also want to be known for just being the optimist and seeing positivity and opportunity everywhere.
Those are good ones. I like that. And those all sound so nice together too. I love that. Are there any other questions that you would say we should be asking in like the application or on like an interview, either one?
So I will also say that asking for references is a really great way to do some background research too. When you list references, a lot of people don't actually follow up on them. But if you are hiring for somebody who is going to have major impact in your business, I would follow up on these references and I would make at least an effort to email them, if not call them, and just ask for their opinion about who you're hiring and just what their experience is with them. And that gives you a feel. So I'm an Enneagram 4. I'm a big feeler. I can read people. I can feel people. I'm very empathetic. And so hearing people's voices is big for me. I love talking to people. So when you get to hear how somebody is talking about who you're going to be hiring, that gives you a good gut feeling too. And then I would also ask on the application, I love this question, if we reached out to a previous employer, what would they say about you?
Oh, that's good.
And if we reached out to a team member you worked closely with, what would they say about you?
Okay.
And that's a great way for them to reflect on how they see themselves being perceived by other people. It's kind of like a really meta question, but it gets a really good response. And then when you are sitting down face to face with them, if you're having a phone call, I highly recommend just starting off with, what do you know about us and why do you want to work here?
Yeah.
I know and please, 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 please don't start off an interview by asking, tell us about you. Who are you? Because that's just a hefty question, and there's no way that you can sum up an entire human being. It's so philosophical. Like when you're asked that, like, oh man, who am I? Who am I really? Like we're all struggling with that, and we don't need to try and answer that in an interview.
Yes.
But starting off by asking, what do you know about us and why are you excited to work here, is a great way to get the interview started and going.
Yes, I agree with that. And that's a good question too, to like see if they did any research at all about you. Because for this recent time hiring, I actually specifically was looking for someone who did not follow me online already. It was interesting that the reason was because I wanted someone who had the skills I was looking for and wasn't like trying to like learn from me, so to speak. But then in the interview, it was important to me that the person I was interviewing had like looked over my website and social media and things of that nature to like know about the business. So I think that's a great question. I love what you said of asking how people would describe you that they had worked with previously. So yeah, I want to add another question. So one question I asked in my recent hiring round was the last book you read that had an impact on you and why?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And that was on the application. So before I ever interviewed them. But the reason I loved that question, because, I ended up over like a month of trying to hire about 100 applicants. And some people I immediately like did not consider because the way they answered this question, because I'm asking the last book you read that had an impact on you. So not like the last book you ever read, but just like a book that had an impact on you and why is basically the question. But I had some people respond and say, I don't read or I don't have time to read.
No.
Yeah, but yes, exactly. It's just like, even if you aren't a reader, to me, that was like the fact that you can't even come up with like a book that impacted you ever is like a no for me. And yeah, and then some people, like you could tell they kind of felt like they needed to say some like super uppity book, but then other people were like, I just read this murder mystery and it was awesome. And I'm like, yeah, I just read that same one. And like, we can totally talk about that. But I thought that was like a telling question to hear people talk about books they like.
Mm-hmm. And then another great one is, asking them to paint a picture of their days currently, like their schedule for their days. So it gives you an insight to how they spend and dedicate their time. And then asking them, what is their ideal structure for their days too? Especially if you're hiring virtually, this is going to give you great insight into how they want to spend their time, and if they're going to be working, and if they're going to be energetically there and available whenever you are too. Because if you run your business and you are more energetic and collaborative in the afternoon, but this person is a real morning person and they get a lot done in the mornings, and then by the afternoon they taper out like me. That might be something that you have to work around, or it might even be a big no right off the bat. So asking that question is real helpful too.
Yeah, I love that. And those are ones I asked on calls, interview calls with people. And that's so true though, of asking their schedule currently. Like through that question, I actually realized one of the people I was interviewing, they already had a full-time job and were a full-time graduate student. And so it was like, wait, like this actually like isn't the right fit for you because of that. But I might not have even learned that if I hadn't have asked like what they were currently doing scheduling wise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, this has been awesome. I love all these. I love especially all these questions we just went through to ask in interviews and job applications. But to close us out, I just want to know like what closing advice you could have for like the woman listening who is thinking like, I want to hire eventually. I'm not sure if I'm ready. Like, what should I do? Or I'm ready to hire right now. Just like any kind of advice you can leave everyone with.
Ooh, start getting ready right now. If you're listening to this, it's time to start getting ready. If you've been putting it off, or even if you're going to be hiring like in the next year, start getting ready right now. Start preparing and cleaning up your finances, and start cleaning up your internal processes, and start shifting your mindset to just understanding that you're going to be a leader. And I would start right now to reserve some time in your day to start working on yourself too. Because as you are growing your business and as you're approaching a season of hiring, that means that you have a lot on your plate. And you can't step into a position of leadership where people are looking to you for vision and purpose in their role if you aren't making time for yourself to have blank space and self-care and learning. You need to prioritize personal growth because you always want to be one step ahead of your business. You don't want to feel like your business, your team is dragging you up toward growth. If
Yes.
you know what I'm trying to say. Like you want to be in a place where you've grown so that you are leading the company and not being pushed to always keep your head above water. So start being intentional now about crafting a set amount of time, even if it just starts as like 10 minutes every day where you are just meditating or opening a great book or taking a bath. That is non-negotiable time that will help you become the best leader and the best person and the best business owner that you can be. So important.
Yeah, that's such great advice. And seriously, everyone listening, start getting ready now. I wish I'd started getting ready sooner than I did for hiring. I think it would have made like the first couple of times I hired much easier. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
To completely close us out, I want to ask you some fun rapid fire questions. So first question, I know you're a huge Gilmore Girls fan. Who is your favorite character on the show?
I think I would be a heretic if I didn't say Lorelai Gilmore. She is everything that I want to be in life. She is an entrepreneur. She is a BA woman, and she does what she wants when she wants, but she also loves people fiercely. So I want to be Lorelai.
I love Lorelai too. That's a good answer. Okay. Your favorite author or favorite, actually, let's do this. Favorite author. And I want to know a business book you think everyone should read.
Oh, well, I've got to say Dare to Lead as the business book. It will change your life. Oh, but also, this is tied. The Joy of Leadership is so good too. I just read that back in November and I'm starting to read it again. add those books to your list. But my favorite author is Agatha Christie. She's the one that got me into reading, and I love mysteries. Right now I'm into Louise Penny because I've read all of Agatha's books. So yeah.
That's awesome. I have not read any books by her, and I feel like I would really like them because I read a lot of more modern people who are similar to her. So I need to read her books.
Yeah.
And yes, Dare to Lead is amazing, and I'm going to look at Joy of Leadership too. That's awesome. Okay, something you're really excited about for 2020.
I just launched my group coaching program, so I'm really excited to dive deep and pour into those women too.
Yeah. Okay, a favorite childhood TV show.
Ooh, Arthur was one of my favorites.
Oh my gosh, I loved that show too. I forgot about that one.
Until they changed his voice, and then it got, I don't know. I was just really attached to the original Arthur.
Yes,
but I would every morning I would eat Cheerios on the floor with my lamb chops tray and watch Arthur in the mornings before school.
That's so fun. I love that. Okay, so tell everyone where they can find you, your podcast, website, social media, all of it.
Well, this is the first time that I'm introducing my podcast on a podcast. So you can find me. I'm 100% of my time. I'm on Instagram at Joy to Lead. You could find me online at joytolead.com. My podcast is called Joy to Lead on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, all the places. And I'm on Facebook too. I don't want to leave Facebook out at Joy to Lead.
Yes. And I'll link to all of that stuff too in the show notes so you guys can click over to her website and podcast and all of that. So thank you so much, Kaylan. This is so helpful. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.